This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of Make It Happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joshua Ryan Rusin, the community director, Jake Gino. Josh, how are you doing today?
Gino, doing well, my friend. Listen, I'm a little scared. I brought the cold weather from Tennessee down to St. Augustine with me. Last week it was in the 70s, and now we're getting 30s, 40s, and 50s. I'm not sure what's going on down here in Florida, my friend.
It's still better than 5, 10, and 15 and 20 inches of snow. That's all I got to say. It's always half full, Josh. It's not half empty. We're always got to look at the bright side. Special guest today. Let's introduce the guest, Josh. Let it rip.
All right, today we have Bill Ham. Bill, besides being a Jake Gino coach, has been an integral part of the community here, but he got his start in real estate in 2005, and then he not only survived 08, but thrived through it. And in fact, his first 402 units he gained without even walking into a bank. Now, before doing real estate, Bill was a pilot, and getting into real estate, he had just over $10,000 in a cash flowing duplex to his name. So he is an absolute master at creative financing. And since 2005, he's been able to do over 1,100 units and build his own property management company. And actually, he's releasing a new book called Creative Cash that we're going to talk about today. With that being said, welcome to the show, Bill.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
All right, Bill, take us back to 2005, man. How did real estate get started as an idea? Tell us about some of your first deals. Tell us, how creative financing got in there, all of it.
Yeah, good stuff. I was a pilot by trade. I was flying airplanes for a neurosurgeon, medical supply company, and realized that I was not very important as a pilot when the airplane was on the ground. Real important when the airplane was in the air, not so important on the ground. And turns out, and if there are pilots out there listening, turns out that aviation is actually a lot of on the ground time. You think being a pilot, you're always flying an airplane, and that's not true. There's actually a ton of downtime, ton of waiting, waiting between flights, go here, go there. I realized I was a glorified limo driver, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but I got bored easily. And so saved up, as you mentioned, I saved up $10,000. I bought a duplex, and I said, I'm a genius. And I walked away from aviation into real estate. Figured out very quickly I was not nearly as smart as I thought I was. Got banged around pretty hard in the beginning of the business, learned a lot, and then actually wound up creating a 402 unit portfolio with creative financing techniques. And I say that, I mean, I didn't go into a traditional lender's office, get a mortgage, put money down, buy real estate. I got into all of these different deals with seller financing and lease options and credit cards and partners and lines of credit, all the different creative techniques that I've used to build that portfolio. First deal, as I said, was a duplex. Did houses for about 2 or 3 years, kind of just flipping houses, built up a portfolio of single family rentals, and then slowly started to move into multifamily, started small multifamily, and then just slowly got bigger and bigger. And now all I do are larger commercial assets. But the beginnings were small, humble, and not very interesting, very common. Didn't start off with a lot of money. Didn't start off with a lot of experience. Didn't start off with much of anything. I mean, I was a pilot. Didn't know anything about business or real estate. Saw friends of mine flipping houses. And I thought, all right, wait a minute. We were all at the bar drinking last night. And I got up and went to work, and you got up and flipped a house, and you made basically in 1 or 2 flips what I made working all year long. Wait a minute here, something's wrong. And that's when I really got motivated to start taking my own education into my own hands and my own career and my own success, and kind of started to just take control of my life. And that's what I decided to get into real estate, and been here ever since.
So Bill Ham, idle time, not a good thing. Very dangerous for all the listeners out there. He gets bored very easily because he's a super intelligent person. It's ironic that Bill and myself have so many things in common. He's a gardener. He likes to garden. He likes guns. He likes real estate. He likes to coach. He's sort of an introvert. I mean, there's a lot of qualities that Bill and I resonate with, and I truly admire Bill for the work that he's done over the last couple of years for the Jake and Gino community. It's been an awesome journey for me. I've learned a ton from Bill, and I continue to learn every day. And that's why I'm honored to have Bill, launch his book with Jake and Gino. It's been a lot of hard work. I have so many questions. The first one, I heard you say, get banged around. And what did you learn? What were those learning lessons in the beginning? I can share one with everybody. Bill, his great quote is, "You'll make money in real estate if you live long enough." That's a good one, right? And I can go on Bill isms for the rest of the show without even Bill speaking.
I forgot about that one.
Oh, come on. I remember. Steel trap over here.
There you go. Yeah,
there's words of wisdom. So
yeah.
what did you really learn in the beginning? Give people.
Well, I think, first of all, let's clarify that comment, because that seems like a bit out of place. What I mean by that, and it ties into sort of one of my first lessons, one of my first mistakes in real estate, is that yes, real estate always goes up in value, as people say that it does. The question is, how long does it take to do it? And that was one of my very first mistakes, was getting into very tough neighborhoods. Well, let me rephrase that. It wasn't a mistake. One of my first journeys into real estate. And the reason I'm going to back up and say it wasn't a mistake was because it was the path that I had to walk. Right. It was the opportunities that I was given, and I had a choice to play that hand or go home. And so I chose to get into the neighborhoods and into the properties and into the areas that I did, because that's where I got started. I was from Middle Georgia. It was a pretty impoverished city. That was just the hand I was dealt, and I played it instead of just complaining or going home. So I don't want to say that any of those first deals were a mistake, but the mistake that could be made here is going into buildings and older assets and older areas and tougher neighborhoods, just sort of believing, generally speaking, about the appreciation of real estate. And yes, I agree, those assets will appreciate, but it could take a long time, and you could wind up getting yourself in financial trouble in that meantime. I had houses that took me 14 years to sell, not because I wanted to, but because the market collapsed. I went into those bad neighborhoods. I bought houses. They were rental properties. And the neighborhood just never recovered. And this was back 05, 06, 07. I'm buying these houses. And back then I'm looking, and my friends and I are all looking at these houses going, gosh, 2 or 3 years ago, these were $80,000, $100,000 houses. And here they are today selling for $25,000. We're geniuses. High five, all this kind of stuff. Because man, I mean, in 2 years, these things are going right back to 100 grand, and we're going to get rich. 15 years later, I broke even. The values actually went down to around 5 to 10 grand before they recovered. So be very, very careful about thinking real estate always appreciates. Yes, it does, but it's not linear. It's not a straight upward line. It can be very up and down along that process. And so I got, not understanding market cycles was probably another really paramount mistake I made in the beginning. Again, it wasn't a mistake. It was just a lack of education. I wasn't exposed to the material at that point in time. I would say it would be a mistake if you repeated the failure. The first time around, it's just tuition. Second time around, it's punishment. So first time around, you make a mistake, chalk it up, learn, keep going. Just don't repeat it.
I love that. So before we dive into the book itself, my last question on that whole topic, which is really important, is you've coached thousands and thousands of hours now. What was your take on mentorship? Because I know you joined the mentorship program. What was the big benefits for you from joining the mentorship program?
Yeah, what you mean with my first mentor?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Accelerated business model. I needed information, not motivation. Some people need motivation. Some people need hand-holding. They need to be held accountable. These things, that was not me. I didn't need any of that stuff. What I needed were the roadblocks removed. Hey, I'm here. I don't know what to do. This situation came up. What do I do? Because if you'll just help me solve that problem academically, I'll go forward on my own. So that was what an education or a coaching program and a mentor that I signed up for, and I was part of several coaching programs before I ultimately started teaching. That was what that was for me. Sometimes people are different. People have different needs. So if you need hand-holding, you need motivation, if you need to be held accountable, we can do that too. It just wasn't what I needed. I just needed information. But we can provide both.
Bill, I need to ask another question on that.
Yeah.
You've coached so many students. What are some of the several of the themes that you see that make students successful in this business?
Yeah, willing to adjust to a different point of view. I think, what I realize is that most people have no clue what real estate is. They have no clue what the business is about. They have no clue what it really entails. And that's not because they didn't read a book, take a class, or get educated. It's just an experience thing. And so I see a lot of students, depending on how misconceived they are about actual business, typically dictates the adjustment process. What I notice is that people come in very high level, super excited. And then they realize this is real work and it's real business and it's not as easy as they thought. And then they drop. Now, do they continue dropping and never come back? Or do they then come back up and level off somewhere in the middle and say, okay, you know what? It wasn't what I thought, but at least now I know what it is. I got it. I'm ready to go. Let's roll up our sleeves and get in there and do the work. So the people that are willing to drop preconceived notions when presented with real information are the ones that succeed. The ones that fall back and try and defend their position and defend their self-importance are the ones that never make it. The ones that say, oh, well, I've got kids, they've got little league, and, I can't find a good deal because I'm busy and this, that, and the other. Hey, look, the closing table doesn't care. There's no crying in real estate. You get there, you don't. I agree, you got problems and you got things and you got this and you got that. Great. I completely sympathize with you. Yes, so what? Close or don't. You know what I mean? So the people that are willing to drop all that nonsense, face reality, and pivot are the ones that actually become successful. That being said, and we have some personal students that fit this description, ones that are willing to commit to a different kind of level are the ones that make it. Typically, you'll see this in people that realize they live in a market that's not great for real estate and they move. I did. I realized the market I was in sucked, so I moved. Well, that's commitment on a high level to your business. And so when you're presented with that kind of information, that kind of point of view, and the light goes on and you drop your preconceived notions and all the things that you think make you and your personality, and you just adjust for the truth, you'll make it. If you want to sit there and make up excuses and defend your point of view, you're not going to make it.
I love that. So let me really clarify what Bill is talking about, and the way I'm seeing it is the clarity. Do you have enough clarity in your life? You don't lack motivation, you lack clarity. Do you want to do this business? We are creating multifamily entrepreneurs, right? This is an important quote from Stephen Covey that I think is the central theme throughout this show and throughout what I've seen in my life. People see life as they are, not as it is, right? And if you're looking at real estate as toilets and tenants and trash, that's what you're seeing. But if you're not looking at it as a multifamily entrepreneur and as building a business, then you're looking at the wrong map. You're looking at the wrong paradigm. And I did the same thing in the beginning when I bought my fourplex. I'm thinking tenants and trash. I'm making $100 a month on cash flow. Cash flow is great. Another Bill-ism. Cash flow will let you leave your job. Equity will let you stay out of your job. That's what was a light bulb moment for me, because okay, I'm making $100 a door, which is good. Don't get me wrong. That's really good. That'll help me pay the bills. But then building that business, building an entrepreneurial venture is what really is exciting about multifamily, but you need to get in here. Now, let me jump into the book. Other than my wife giving you the motivation to write the book, because you got a nice little acknowledgement in there. Julia, I'm throwing you a little bone, Julia. What was the inspiration for writing the book?
The book originally was written a long time, about 10 years ago, actually. And it wasn't a book at the time. What it was a home study course. I was working for a different educator in the real estate space. And back then, sort of home study courses was the way to go. We'd stand on stage and we'd hold it up and say, take action, and run to the back of the room and get your credit card out and all this kind of nonsense. And so I thought I was going to be the next, really big speaking, selling guru, and turned out terrible at sales. I'm a great educator. I am a horrible salesperson. And so to do that kind of stand on stage and tell you about how rich you're going to get, and man, it's one deal and you're retired and all this nonsense, it didn't fit my personality. And I really felt like I was just lying to everybody. And so the information was good, but sales was terrible. I didn't have a Josh Rusin to help me out with that kind of part of the business. And so I kind of just let it go. And it just said, I'm not good in sales. And I just kind of forgot it and went on and did my business. Well, then about, year and a half ago, Julie and I were talking, and I'd been lecturing at one of our events, one of your events. And, she kind of said, hey, those techniques are good. You should write it down. And that's when I went, you're right. We are about to go into another market cycle where this information becomes very relevant. And that's when I kind of thought, let me go back and pull out that old home study course. And so what I did was I pulled out the old written material. I got rid of everything that didn't need to be there, rewrote it, remastered everything, brought it up to current modern times, modern examples, and just really updated everything and then turned it into a book. And then that's what, I joined you with. And then you decided that Wheelbarrow Profits would be gracious enough and wonderful partner to help me actually launch this. I gave you a short sentence in the acknowledgement, and your wife all of the acknowledgement, because you're on the front, you're on the cover of the book. It says presented by Jake Gino right there on the cover. So I really could have done it without you guys. I've been extremely thankful for being a part of your team, your family. This has just been a perfect environment for me. I play to my strengths and I kind of ignore my weaknesses. I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at doing the things that you guys do as a company. Great teacher. This is a great place for me to just step in and bring education and value and not have to worry about all the other stuff. So this has been a perfect partnership. I don't want to take all the credit here. I know you're always saying how grateful you are for me to be here. Hey, Gino, Josh, I'm just as grateful to be here for the two of you and for your company, because if it wasn't for you guys, I'd still be out here just doing my things. So I really, really thank you for being part of this.
Thank you.
Bill, I got a few questions for you. One, you've been a student of several mentorship programs. In fact, you've been on the other side as an educator and eventually in a sales role. And you'd mentioned, you didn't really buy into what they were doing, right? You didn't believe in them, the product, and the message they were saying. Give me something, shoot me straight here. What would you say you do different here, and why do you resonate here? What's the USP of what we do here and why it's real?
Okay. What I would say is different from this mentorship program and the other ones that I have been involved with in the past. I can't speak to all the programs out there. I'll just say the ones that I've been involved with in the past. It is the sales to information ratio. And that's something that I really implore all students out there to pay attention to, not with Jake and Gino or Wheelbarrow Profits, but when you go out and you should study from all types of programs and gurus, by the way. There's not a one size fits all, but whenever you're looking at the teacher, the two big things you want to pay attention to are they willing to teach from failure, number one, or do they hide their failures? So are they willing to be honest about failure? And number two, what is the sale to information ratio? How much good information are you getting before that educator starts hitting you with something to purchase? Hey, look, they all got something to sell. I've got a book. Everybody's got something to sell. So it's not that you need to get it all for free. Is it one of these, all the good information is always behind door number two? Everything's an upsell. Like you come in, you pay money, you come to the event and they go, oh, real estate's great. And you're going to learn a ton of real estate as soon as you join our program. And then you're sitting there going, what did I just walked in here. I just paid you and you didn't tell me anything. And now I got to sign up for this. And then you sign up for that. And then you get in there. And then the real information is in the elite program. Watch that kind of stuff. That's not what you want to be getting into. And that's the difference, to answer your question, Josh, with Wheelbarrow Profits. And that's what I noticed early on is that your info to sales ratio is one of the best in the business. We bring so much content and so little call to action, so little do anything beyond join us. You know what I mean? That's phenomenal. If anybody's been to our events, we don't have it's not a whole roster of selling speakers. It's us actually out there giving content at our events. As a matter of fact, when I'm teaching, we have our education boot camps. There are no sellers in that room. That's not the way most people in this business run boot camps, just so you know. Don't change it, by the way, but just so you know.
I will never change it.
Yeah, most of these educators have a guest speaker, one or two per day, and each guest speaker has a product for sale. And so you're running into a lot of sales pitches throughout the day per the amount of information that you're getting. So I'm not being negative to a sales pitch. I'm just saying, make sure this educator is bringing you a fair amount of what you actually pay for, which is real content. And that's kind of what I think is our unique proposition here is we're just not beating you up with sales pitches. We're bringing the real content.
I want to share a story with the both of you. I don't think I ever told you this, Bill. Picture this, everybody. I am at a boot camp with Bill. We're doing a bus tour and we're sitting outside one of the apartments and there's about 80 students there going in the apartments. And Bill comes over to me and he actually says to me, I was burned out coaching. I really enjoy coaching. I really like the coaching model. And I don't know what you guys are doing here. You're vetting your students. You have an amazing community. And I remember also at a boot camp, that same one, his wife comes over to me and says, I don't know what you did, but Bill really likes teaching again. And to me, that's the essence of teaching, the essence of not just going out and trying to sell somebody a program, but offering value. The same side selling, where you want to have a community of like-minded individuals that they're not all going to close deals, but there's a little bit of something for everybody in this community. And you want to provide value, and you want to provide hope, inspiration, motivation, but also actionable content. We deliver all of that. And that's why when I met Bill back in 2018, he wasn't coaching. And we built a program with him around the Jake and Gino community around him. And that to me was one of the most gratifying moments that I've had throughout the journey, is that my coaches actually like to coach. It's not just a job. I don't want to say it's a calling, but it really is, because we learn a lot from our students as we coach. But at the same time, we have relationships. We're helping people quit their jobs. We're helping people add to their portfolios, and we're actually changing their lives and their families' lives. I don't know if you remember that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of times I don't pay attention to stuff like that myself, but you're right. My wife was always concerned that I'd quit teaching, because she knew that was something I was always supposed to be doing and something I was good at. But I've come to realize that I'm quite sensitive in that regard, almost as an artist. Not a ton of money in this. I mean, sure, we get paid, we make a little money here and there. Nobody's getting rich teaching. I mean, I enjoy it. I love doing it. Mm-hmm. But in a lot of those environments, I would be very giving with my time and information, and it was abused. And so I realized now that's one of the big answers. And I didn't realize it until I was just sitting here right now listening to you say that, Gino, that I'm so comfortable in your environment because I can give freely and it's not abused. It's not taken advantage of. And that has to do with the tenant base, or the student base that we have, which is Mr. Rusin, who has put the people in place. It really starts with Josh here. He's not a slick salesperson, arm twisting, high pressure. And that, when you sell like that, and when that is your first interaction with your student base, it sets the pace. And that's what I noticed with a lot of these other gurus, is it was such a high pressure boiler room kind of sales environment that the students that were onboarded into that program were freaked out time they walked in the door. Mm-hmm. And it was largely because of their interaction with the salespeople. So it was just a very intense environment with a lot of very needy and frightful and fearful students. And then if I try and give, it's just this, just brain suck. And so I had to always kind of be reserved and held back. And I'm comfortable here. I feel safe here. That's Josh, that's probably my main answer as to why I'm still here, is I like being in this group. It's easy. I don't have to look over my shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Love it. Yeah, Bill, and honestly, that means a lot, man. All right, I got another thing I want to dive into. So you had mentioned right now is the perfect time to learn the information that's in the Creative Cash Fund. Why?
Well, because we're getting market cycle is the answer. So markets always cycle. They rise and fall, up and down, up and down. There are lots of reasons for it. Debt is your biggest reason. Lenders tend to control market cycles. They control the economy more than we realize. And so lenders will see a recession sort of coming, and then therefore they stop lending as aggressively, which causes a recession, right? That lack of cash in the market. So the reason that it's timely that I'm bringing this information out now on creative financing is twofold. I think we're going to have some distress in the multifamily real estate in general market going forward. We could spend a couple hours just discussing why, but I think we're going to have some issues in the market going forward. And that is overlaid with the lenders retreating from the market. If you look at agency debt, Fannie, Freddie, they're tightening up criteria. The application process is tougher. You've got to have a better track record. If you're brand new to real estate right now, Fannie, Freddie going to be a little bit tough. They want to see that you've been in the business. They want to see that you've got a lot of net worth. They want to see that the property is highly performing. So debt is just getting tougher. People stop and they go, yeah, but the interest rates are really low. No, irrelevant. Forget the interest rates. That's irrelevant point right now. The lenders are being tough behind the scenes. Yes, they have that carrot on the stick of interest rate. When you get into actual loan application, it's a beast. Mm-hmm. Well, when you start to have some distressed assets, i.e. that loan to value isn't great, or your debt service ratio on your property is not great. Maybe the tenants aren't paying rent. Maybe the property needs a lot of repairs and maintenance, things like that. What that's going to cause is us as buyers, when we walk in and try and purchase that asset, the math is not going to work for us. We're going to say, wait a minute, I'm putting down 30% or 40% because the bank's only going to give me 60% loan to value, and your price is high. Oh, and I got to fix the plumbing, and I got to fix the roof, and the tenants are the deals just aren't going to make sense. And so if you only have one option to solve that problem, you're not going to solve problems very often. Mm-hmm. And so the option to solve, as I'm saying, if your only trick is to go to the bank, get a loan, buy a property, very few deals are going to fit that model. And so with creative financing, we have the ability to look at and analyze deals with several other options. And that's all creative financing is. It's an increase in probability. It's just a few more tools in the toolbox. Hey, if this one doesn't work, here's several others. If none of these tools work, it's probably a bad deal and you need to pass on it. So that's all we're doing here. And that's what I'm saying. These techniques are going to become a lot more valuable in the next over the next 6 months to 3 to 4 years, because the lenders are pulling back and they're going to pull back.
So I want everyone to go to creativeapartmentdeals.com. Take a look at it. You can purchase the book there. We've got some free resources there. If you want to sign up for those resources, that'd be great. I want to give a couple golden nuggets in the book. And really, it's not just about creative financing. Bill talks about the SPY technique. He talks about negotiation, which is truly important. It will revolutionize how you look at a deal. We talk about the types of deals that these creative financing techniques work. He talks about the 3 pillars of real estate, which is, I wish I'd known Bill back in 2007, because the 3 pillars of real estate, we've trademarked it: market cycle, debt, and exit strategy. Write those down, everybody. Market cycle, number 1, debt, and exit strategy. And you have the convergence going on right now. We're at the part of the cycle that this is going to work. Debt is pulling back, right? And figure out what your exit strategy is. He talks about that in the book. And another thing, very little, I want everyone to, when you're done with the show, go Google MLO, Master Lease Options. Very little information out there. Well, guess what? Bill wrote about it in the book. He's been doing it. He was doing it and he didn't know what the hell it was called back 10, 15 years ago. He basically worked at it and he figured it out. So Bill, dive into some of the other things that you've written in this book that really excited you and said, you know what, you need to go buy this book right now.
Yeah, the 2 major techniques that you're going to take away from this are, like you said, master lease options and seller financing. There's lots of other techniques in the book, but those are your 2 mainstays of creative financing going forward, the ones that we use the most often. And I'm excited because this is typically the market cycle where we see a large transfer of wealth. And I don't wish anyone poor, and I certainly hope everybody succeeds and nobody goes into foreclosure and all renters pay the rent and everybody's happy ever after. Yeah, but it ain't going to happen. And there's going to be a shift in wealth coming. And the shift will go to those who can solve problems. Mm-hmm. And how do we solve problems? We bring value. How do we bring value? Creativity. And so those of us that know and learn creativity are going to be in a unique position to offer a very unique type of value going forward, problem solving value. And that's where people that are new, that don't have a ton of experience, don't have that big resume, maybe you don't have all those big millionaire partners just yet. This is the time for the new person, the little guy, to get in. It's when the markets are hot. It's when the markets are doing good. They're up there. They're inflated. Can actually be the worst time to try and get in real estate. If anybody listening to this has been looking for deals over the last, say, 6 months, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Prices are high. There's not much inventory, but this is what we call a good market. Mm-hmm. Is it? Mm-hmm. I disagree. And so this is one of the main points I want to make, is that people need to move away from the concept, the erroneous concept of up is good, down is bad. Wrong. Up can be good, up can be bad, down can be good, down can be bad. You need to have strategies for both sides, and then both sides are good. So a recession is only bad for the people that don't know what they're doing. It's only bad for people that had one way to buy real estate, and that's it had only one exit strategy and didn't understand market cycles. Yeah, those people only tend to last in the business about 4 years, 5 years. And they get washed out. And that's because they make money when everybody else does, and then they lose it when everybody else does. This book, and what we teach at Wheelbarrow Profits in general, is how to shift and survive all market cycles. So you get to keep the money you're making. And that's why I'm excited about bringing this information out. We're going to see a lot of people new to the business get an opportunity that they haven't had over the last 5 years because they've just been pushed out by the big players.
Before we go to the short answers, I think this is really important. I want everyone to take out a piece of paper and a pen right now. I want Bill to dive in real quick to what the SPY technique. We've trademarked this also, and I think this is really an amazing technique for anybody in any type of industry. use it on your spouse, use it on whoever, a significant other. It works in any venture, but this really will change your mindset, right, on how to go towards a negotiation.
Okay, it's SPY, and that's an acronym. Gino, it stands for Seller Property You, and that's one of our big values in the book here. And again, as you've copyrighted that or trademarked it, it's a function of how to analyze a deal from the perspective of the seller first. So what I find is that most people fail at creative financing when they first try it, because they don't understand. They understand the offer, they understand seller financing, or maybe they've read a master lease option contract. Yes, so what? You can find those on the internet. Big deal. Can you get a seller to accept it? That's the magic. It's not the document. Who cares? Anybody can come up with a document. Can you sell it? Can you get a seller to see what you see, feel what you feel, and know the value that you bring? That's the key. And that's what the SPY technique does. It shows you how to sit down and analyze the deal from the seller's problem perspective first. Let's solve the seller's problems. Then let's look at the property, seller property. Let's look at the property and see what the property needs as far as repairs and maintenance, what have you. Lastly, we're going to take a look at you and see what you need, because you are the least important part of this equation. And that's what people get wrong in real estate and in business in general. They put themselves first. If you're rich, then fine, put yourself first. If you're trying to get rich, you put yourself last. And you serve everyone else first because you don't have any money. And hello, and so that's why I've developed the SPY technique, and it's to show you that you're probably doing it wrong. You're probably sitting down with creative financing going, what do I need? Well, I don't have any money. I don't have any experience. I need a deal. Fine. And then you look at the property and say, oh, okay, what does the property need? Well, it needs these repairs, this, that, and the other. Oh yeah, and by the way, there's a seller involved. Maybe I should actually speak to the seller about the deal. Terrible mistake. You've got to start with the seller, what motivates the seller, what the seller needs and wants. Then we look at the property, then you. That's how you're going to create an offer that's a strategic, problem-solving, value-creating offer that's going to increase your acceptance rate 100-fold by using that one technique. And it's all about getting that seller to agree to the deal. And if you'll follow the techniques that I have in the book, you're gonna increase your closings tremendously. And it's like I even say in the book, I guarantee you this book will increase probability of closing. I can't guarantee you're going to close more deals, but I guarantee you're going to be a lot more likely to close deals if you use these techniques than if you don't.
I want people to understand, if you're rich out there, great for you, but you're probably not chasing money. You're chasing value and you're chasing opportunities. So the SPY technique will probably even work for you even better because you're not worrying about yourself. You're not worrying about the next dollar. If you can add value to the other side, man, that's tremendous. You're seeking to serve and you're worrying about what the other side needs. Then your needs come next. Do they align? It's what Josh really promotes, that same side selling. Can we find impact together amongst ourselves? If we can do that when you're selling a property and I'm trying to buy it, great. If we can't, and to touch it off, before we go to the short answers, it's all about motivation. I mean, the seller needs to be motivated. And in any real estate transaction, whether the market's high, the market's low, if there's no motivation from the seller, you're not going to get a deal. So always just keep that in mind. And Bill, I need to mention one more thing. When we're doing creative financing techniques, this is truly important. Bill taught me this. Don't look at every deal from the creative financing lens. Look at it just from the deal perspective. Does the deal work regularly? Can you syndicate the deal? Can you JV the deal? If it doesn't work, then guess what? Look at it through the creative financing lens, and it doesn't work there. So if you're looking from the race to 80, you need to get 80 deals underwritten, and you maybe close one. Well, if you put creative financing as a tool in the toolbox, you may be able to close 2 or 3 or 4. Like Bill said, your probability of close will increase by using these techniques.
That's it.
Take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors. Are you looking for ways to improve your life?
Here at Jake Gino, our mission is to empower students through financial education and the vehicle of multifamily investing.
Yes, Jake. We agree that a person with financial intelligence can change the world for the better.
We've created our proprietary 3-step framework, buy right, manage right, and finance right, that we teach to our community. This framework, along with education, our one-on-one mentorship, on-site boot camps, and the amazing community has propelled our students to massive success.
We've all been there. We've had so many students that have been able to shift their mindset, overcome limiting beliefs, and set a clear path to achieve their goals. Whether you're currently fixing and flipping, wholesaling, or buying single family rentals, and you know that multifamily investing is the right vehicle for you, I encourage you to visit jakengino.com/apply to schedule your complimentary consultation with our team. And I want to let you know this isn't a high pressure sales call. It's really just a discovery call to get to know each other better and see if we're a good fit for working together. And if for any reason we're not a good fit, our team has tons of resources we will share with you to help you along your journey.
If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels, go to jakeandgino.com/apply and schedule your call now.
All right, Bill, quick question for you. So if Bill today from 2021 could give some advice to Bill in 2005, starting his real estate career, what advice would you give yourself first getting in?
Great question, bro.
Yeah, I'd probably say run like hell. No, I don't know. What would I say? Yeah, probably not much, because I would have taken away my opportunity for failure. And I don't think I would want to go back in time and stop myself from failing from too much, because those failures forged me into who I am now. I know that's kind of a cop-out question. Everybody wants to hear some kind of great piece of wisdom that I would go back in time and tell my younger self, just do what you're doing. Don't worry about it. That's what I would tell my younger self. That being said, a piece of advice, I guess, technically speaking, I would probably say try and go a little bit bigger, a little bit faster.
Yes.
You know, you don't want to go, I don't like the kind of business advice where people get up there and say, hey, go big, go home, go, go big right now, or you're nobody if you're not going. No, that's a disastrous business advice. But you should go as big as you can. And I think I let fear and limiting beliefs keep me in smaller properties longer than I should have, when I really should have been going bigger. It's not that much harder to go into small multifamily, and I'm saying small as in 20 to maybe 50 units, than houses. If you're in that transition space, you're trying to go from single family or small multifamily up, just do it. It's not that big of a deal. So that's what I would tell myself early on.
Josh, do you mind if I answer that question real quick?
Let's hear it, Gino.
So what I would say to everybody, my younger self, I would say proximity and surrounding myself with amazing people is what I would have done at a younger age. Because as you can see right now, I'm sharing the screen with two amazing individuals. And now the proximity with Bill, if I hadn't met him a couple of years ago and he hadn't become part of the community, there'd be no Creative Cash. And with Josh, there'd be no Jake and Gino community. So to me, surround yourself with amazing people. Shed the ego and try to learn every day. Have that growth mindset where commit, figure it out. And for me, that's the most important thing as you're a young person, because you need to be around people who are making it happen. You can't be around people who are victims and who are complaining, who are making excuses, because then you become part of that. So find a great community, find a great mentor, find great role models, find great people you can learn from, and gravitate towards them and add value to their lives.
Yeah, and you hit it right there. I was gonna add to that one. Add value. You don't bring value, why would these people allow themselves to be surrounded by you? Mm-hmm. So again, look at it from that other point of view of like, surround yourself with great people, be great people. Mm-hmm. You know, why are great people going to let you hang out with them if you're not great yourself? So, it's like, yeah, we always kind of throw that cliche stuff out there about, hey, let's just hang out with awesome people. No, you got to be awesome people for awesome people to want to hang out with you. So bring as much value as you can, be positive, learn, study, be willing to serve. And that's probably what I would go back and tell my younger self is just be completely willing to just give it all away every day. You'll get yours later, but for right now, just bring value to others and they'll share.
Mm-hmm. Boom, love it. Bill, tell me about your favorite deal you've ever done and why.
Favorite deal I ever did? Probably one. It was in Warner Robins, Georgia, and it was because it bucked all the metrics. I bought it. It was like a 2 cap rate, which in theory sounds like a horrible deal, but it wasn't. It was a great deal. It was low occupancy. It was a little old guy that owned the property for 25 years. He was like literally when the old story we hear about the car salesman is like, oh, it was a little old lady owned the car and she never drove it and it sat in the driveway forever. It was almost that story right there, literally. And I was able to go in and buy the asset. Jay joint venture brought on some great partners and we pushed the value way up. And in 18 months, we had doubled our cash. We had like doubled it. We had 103% return in like 18 months or something. So it was just a really fun deal. Giant renovation, real headache, tremendous amount of value add. Half the property burned up in a fire when we were under contract. I mean, it was just this giant rodeo ride of a deal. One of the best ones I ever did. It was just fun real estate. Yeah, I just enjoyed it.
Love it. All right, Bill, you're a real intellect, so I'm excited to hear your answer on this one. Favorite book you've ever read?
Favorite book I've ever read? That one and that one. There you go.
All right, so we got the Art of War and
Art of War and
Prince.
These two, if you're in business, you must not read these. You must become a student of these, and it has nothing to do with the war of violence. I want you to understand that. I think Machiavelli and the Prince, and Machiavelli in general, is probably one of the absolute most ununderstood authors in all of history. People walk around and say stupid stuff about Machiavelli all the time, like, "Oh, it's better to be feared than." Look, it's a misquote. It's a misunderstanding. It's not what the guy was trying to tell you. Really, really, really strongly recommend people get a great understanding of these classic works. As you see, I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. That was not a pre-planned thing. I got these books sitting here. They just live by my side all the time. So that's some of my favorite books there. But yeah, a study of the classics and going back and studying classics from a modern perspective. So reading Machiavelli the book is called The Prince. So why don't I call it The CEO? Instead of a nation, why don't we call it a company? And why don't we learn management techniques and strategies from these great masters that lived hundreds of years ago and knew nothing about corporations? Information is timeless. That's probably, I guess, one of my greatest wishes in life. That 200 years, somebody on some interview says, "Oh, what's the best year book?" And so he pulls out one of my books and is like, "Oh yeah, I don't know anything about real estate, but this is applicable in blah blah blah." Because these two individuals, Machiavelli and Sun Tzu, certainly didn't write these books to do anything with business. They didn't know anything about business.
They didn't have a funnel built.
These are some of the greatest business works out there. You never know. But study the classics. That's
so they had no funnels built out. They had no calls to action, no monetization, right? They just wrote them. Yes, love that.
But you got to have the mind to be able to see through the material that's on the page and to get the essence of the message from the book. And that's why I always say Machiavelli is a tremendously misunderstood writer. It really takes not only reading that kind of work, but studying it to truly see the vision that person had and to see the message that it's trying to convey. And that's what I always try and do with my writing is to, convey not only a thought, but a feeling and a message as well.
Love it. All right. So there have been some really good gold nuggets in this episode. And one theme that really stood out to me is that there's two ways to learn this business, right? There's the school of hard knocks. Phil, like you said, you paid your tuition. It costs time and more money. Or there's the school of applied knowledge. Find someone who's been there, done that, and learn from their mistakes and their knowledge and not reinvent the wheel. And to me, what I really took away is education is one investment you can make that not only reduces risk, but increases the upside. And honestly, you can't find many investments that do that, right? I'll give you an example. I go to the roulette wheel and I bet red or black, right? Even money bets. I bet 10 to win 10. But if I put it on a number, I bet 10 to win 36, but my odds of winning are way, way, way less. So it's really cool that you can see that paradox that you're not only reducing risk, but you're increasing upside with education. So that was a huge takeaway.
It's all math.
Yeah,
it's all math. Everything we do is math and probability. We're just trying to skew the numbers all day, every day, everything. Yep. And you hit an important comment right there, Josh. I want to reiterate what you just said. Look, education is one of the only things that we can control. Can you control experience? Not until you get some. Your first deal is your first deal until it isn't. There's nothing you can do about that. Education, you can control that. And if you don't, shame on you.
Yeah, 100%. Gino, what do you got to add to this, my friend?
So picture this. Young Bill Ham, 2004, 2005. He's sitting in an airplane and he sees clouds ahead and he knows there's a storm ahead and there's probably ice in those clouds. And he turns around to the doctor and says, "Doc, we might have a problem." The doc says, "Don't worry. I've got get-there-itis. I need to get to where I'm going." So what does Bill do? He feels in his gut he shouldn't go through those clouds, but he does. He dives into those clouds, and all of a sudden, that airplane is full of ice, and it becomes as heavy as lead, and he starts dropping. And what happens? He drops, and it looks like he's going to start nose dive into the ground. But fortunately, he pulls out of it. The ice starts sheathing off the plane,
And he just sweats. And doctor, I don't think he even noticed anything. And I think that's when Bill probably said to himself, I've got idle time and I'm going to kill myself one of these days. I need to stop doing this.
True story. That is a very well said and very true story. That actually occurred to me. Gino is not making that up.
How could I make a story like that up? I ain't that good, bro. And fast forward, goes out and buys his first duplex. That's the why in real estate. There's the clarity. Why am I chauffeuring these I don't want to, how do I say these doctors, these overprivileged doctors who are going to get me killed because I'm the professional here. They're telling me what to do when I know what I'm supposed to do. I want to control my own destiny. So I'm going to go out and do real estate. I buy a duplex, $400, think I'm doing great. But guess what? I learned this new creative financing technique and I start buying deals without really any money in the bank. And I go out and I go into the banks and I refi my money out. First 400 units, I've done that. Amazing. And then my limiting beliefs are holding me back into these small multis. Finally, I get into the education space. I become a mentor. I start teaching others and I start learning from others. And I get into bigger multifamily deals. Around 2017, 18, I get burned out. I just hate this coaching thing. It's just not working for me anymore. I'm in Atlanta on a hot day. I am in, forgot the hotel, but I just remember from the hotel, the air conditioner is dripping. It's not working. The hotel's smelly, but I meet Jake and Gino there and we don't even meet, but we just get introduced. We continue the conversation a week later, and 3 weeks later, value meets value, marriage made in heaven. As the Spanish people say, un casamiento, rice and beans is just meant to be. We get put together and we start a coaching program. We start coaching students and it's grown into an amazing relationship. 10 boot camps later, we've got a book coming out. We've got a masterclass that you guys can purchase. Go to creativeapartmentdeals.com, click on the link down below. You can buy the book there. You can look at our masterclass. It's all there. But coming from being a pilot, buying a duplex, getting into multifamily. If an airplane pilot can do it, if a pizza guy and a drug rep can do it, anybody can do it. You need the clarity. Creative Cash is coming out. Go buy it on Amazon, creativeapartmentdeals.com. Bill, thanks for being there, bro.
Hey, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everything you guys have done for me as well.
Thank you, Bill.
Take care, everybody. Go out there, creativeapartmentdeals.com. Make it happen.